Okay guys, and welcome to a quick FM Yank tutorial. We're going to talk about setting up a tactic in the lower league. So I know I've been getting a lot of questions lately, and Paul and I have been talking about this a bunch on some of the weekly FM shows. So I wanted to sit down and show you how I go about setting up a tactic and trying to refine things, just to help provide a little bit of a tutorial and an insight into how I think about the game and how I think about setting up a team. So here we are, we just have England selected. We're down, I've got the Vanarama north and south. I turned off player attribute masking. I tend to not do that when I'm doing my bigger long saves, but for this one I turned it off just because it makes life a little easier. And then obviously we're not going to use the in-game editor, one I always leave on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a random team and then just take a look at how to walk through and build a tactic so that we can get a team out there and starting to play, and then we'll morph it. We can talk. I'll talk a little bit about how I go about morphing into how I want to play and style and things like that. But just to kind of take a look at a team evaluation, so we can start figuring out where do we need to do with the transfer market, what do we not, how do we identify players that we need. How do we know which guys are extraneous and not, and how do we leverage our strengths and weaknesses across everything? Okay, so the first thing that they always come out with and what we're interested in is transfer updates. So obviously I'm not necessarily too concerned about what transfers out or loans out. Loans in is going to be something interesting, so let's take a look at it. So we have a midfielder here from Watford, 19 years old. So let's see here. Looks like advanced playmaker. Let's see what he looks like. Not the most composed character in the world, but he's got great passing technique, first touch, good decisions, teamwork, and vision, and work rate. And positioning on this, good natural fitness. Not the fastest guy in the world, but high stamina and high natural fitness, which is good if we're going to play a very up-tempo style. If we have a team that's weak in natural fitness, we're not going to want to, and stamina, we're not going to want to play a big up-tempo style. If we have a lot more guys like this that have good natural fitness, so they're going to rebound between games, and good stamina, then we can play a much higher tempo game. Box to box, again, it's taking advantage. Composure and concentration, finishing, obviously we're not going to ask him to do a lot of finishing here. So an instruction we may look at for this particular player is telling him not to shoot, or shoot very little, just because he's gonna be terrible at it. Plus, with composure and concentration, he's not gonna finish much. But his high first touch and passing, his long shots, he's got decent long shots. So maybe as a training aspect, if we can get his finishing up with his composure and concentration, he'd be better. But for the most part, we're going to use him as a passing distribution engine. He's much more the playmaking character on that front. Okay, so skipping that. So the first place I always go to look is my squad screen here. So just to get a feel for attributes and that. So in the lower league stuff, your physical attributes are always going to be, your biggest concern points. It's a very packed schedule through the year. You're going to play a lot of games on a couple of days rest. It's going to get pretty tight pretty quickly. So I take a look at what I've got with. So as you can see here, I just sorted on acceleration. So, a couple of guys with decent acceleration, a couple of guys with some decent pace. So we'll take a look. We may have some speedy outland guys. Hopefully they're wingers. Some natural fitness. We've got a bunch of good natural fitness in here. And again, some decent stamina across the board on that. So we'll jump into the team depth chart. So this is a picture of what my assistant thinks of the guys on the squad, right? So remember, this is all relative to the league that you're playing in and your assistant's ability to judge anything. So not knowing anything about it, we ought to go quickly and look at Leo and looking at his stats from player ability and potential ability. He probably knows very little about what he's actually looking at on this. So in that case, what we have to do is be very careful and take this with a grain of salt. So we're going to have to really sort through all these different players and figure out what we want to do and how we want to put things together. Just because he's probably going to be a terrible, terrible picture of what's actually going on the squad. So let's start from the bottom up here and see what we've got. Jonathan North. Okay, so he's our goalkeeper. So key stuff, let's take a look here. I tend to like to play in my styles, but the sweeper keeper. But let's see what he's got. So reflexes, rushing out. I'm not a big throwing guy, and I typically don't ask them not to throw in distribution, so that's good. One-on-ones. Okay, so he's got a decent one-on-one score here, a 9 attribute. That's going to be important for me, so if I can get away with playing a higher pressing, higher tempo game, my goalkeeper is going to be left alone a little bit, and he's going to be kind of out on an island sometimes. So the better he is at those, the better off we are at not letting up cheap goals that we get through there. Anticipation's good, bravery is good, determination, good positioning, good teamwork, decent command of his area, okay communication, aerial ability, good agility, and natural fitness on that. So, okay, so not a bad goalkeeper overall. Gary Malone, so what I can't stress enough is do the compares. So you can see players, how they relate to other players, either that you're looking for or that are on your squad. So as you can see, our second keeper here, he's behind in communication, and aerial ability. He's much more eccentric. He is a better handler of the ball, and he is a slightly better, with the kicking. I mean, he has a very high tendency to punch, which is going to mean that this guy is going to give us a very high tendency for those rebounds and those rebound goals. So that's not necessarily something I'm looking for with it, because it's going to put a higher pressure on my defensive line. Key stats in terms of one-on-ones, penalty taking doesn't matter, but one-on-ones, reflexes, rushing out. They're the guy that we just looked at, Jonathan North, much better. Better acceleration, agility, aggression, anticipation, bravery for our previous keeper. He is a slightly better decision maker and a little higher leadership, but not enough that it's going to tip the balance in his favor on this front. So I think overall we figured out who our starting keeper is. So that's Jonathan North. So let's see here. Let's go in. We'll skip all this. And we'll start plugging guys in, and then we'll start playing around with shape as we go. So Jonathan North is our goalkeeper. Okay. So back to the team depth chart. Okay, so taking a look here, we've got a couple of guys who can play the right, guy on the left, and we seem to be a little short in the center center defensive part of things. So we definitely don't really have anybody who's looking at playing a wingback piece. So we're not going to play a high up the pitch wingback. This is definitely what's telling me that. Whether we can play wingbacks or whether we're going to need fullbacks and wide support, we'll take a look at here next. Okay, so pace, acceleration, natural fitness, strength. So good physical attributes on this guy. Good aggression, bravery, good concentration, high work rate, teamwork, positioning. Vision is terrible, so he's not really going to be able to see what's going on the field and pick passes and things like that out very well. Okay marking and tackling. He's nothing to really write home about. So we're going to have to do some training on his crossing and dribbling, because that's going to be a liability. So let's just highlight what I like to run out. So as you can see, we've got a decent, he's got decent ability to play an attacking fullback off the ball. His crossing and dribbling are where his weak spots are going to be. And he's 27, which means he's probably not going to get wildly better in it. So we're going to run into a bit of a liability on that side of things. So the key to him and what we're going to look at in terms of player instructions and that is we don't really want him doing a lot with the ball on it because he's going to make a lot of mistakes. He's not going to be terribly super accurate coming in with it. He's going to have crossing problems on it. He's going to be useful to help sort of bomb up and win the ball back and apply pressure. But once he's got the ball back, we're going to want him to pass it and get rid of it as opposed to blistering in deep with the ball, sort of getting down deep and trying to cross because that's not going to work out too well for us. I'm surprised we don't know anything about our left back. That's never a good sign. So let's see here. Just to see what, just to give us a frame of reference. Okay, now we know stuff about our left back. So this guy's fast, which is nice on the left. He's got high acceleration, good fitness, stamina, and pace, which means he can bomb up and down all day long. High work rate, good teamwork. Ooh, he's got some flair. He's better dribbling. Still not the greatest crosser in the world. Which is going to make things a little awkward. But he's got a ton of speed down the side. So, well, we're going to have to play around with instructions a little bit on this one. But we can kind of plug in. So we can use the guys as we want. Okay, that's what it gives me as a recommendation. So defender right, or rather left is Watts, and where's the guy on the right? Carl Martin. Okay, so on this one, we have our wing back and our wing back attack. Okay, so back on this front. So in terms of central defenders, we'd really prefer to play, our Loney Luke O'Neill here in midfield is really where I'd like he to play in the midfield based on what we saw. I don't want to tie him up. So we may have our first note here in terms of transfer work is that we're going to need a central defender. Let's see here. Ooh. Okay. So just to highlight some attributes here. So heading, marking, tackling. He's a tall, good jumping reach, decent mentals. Thing to note about this. So our center back here has virtually no acceleration, pace, fitness, or stamina in any meaningful sense. So we're gonna run into an issue with him if we start asking our defensive line to push way up. Is if he has to start running around a lot in a game, he's going to be vulnerable. He's going to be very vulnerable to through passes. He's going to be very vulnerable to fatiguing. He's just going to become a liability. So one of the instructions, unless this guy is okay, so same problem on this side. Again, 6'2", so another big, tall center back in the back here, who's decent work rate, teamwork. Okay, so we're learning something else here. So our center backs of Tamlin and Cronin, we're going to need to be very careful with here. So let's plug them in. Actually, let me see. Is there a side preference? No. Prefers central when there's three of them. His right foot's the stronger foot, so we're going to want to put him on that side. And then let me just double check him. I have two great right-footed. Okay, so that doesn't really make a huge difference. I have two awesome right-footed center backs. Whatever we do here, we're going to want a deeper defensive line. We're going to use... actually, let me just take a look at something here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I can't have... So we're gonna set the defensive line up to be deeper, because we can't afford to get into a situation where these guys are going to start pushing up and get caught out up here, because we're going to just become we're just going to get banged by through balls all over the place. So obviously we don't want to leak goals in that respect. Okay, let's go back to the team depth chart here and take a look at what we've got going on. So as we can see, we've got one guy who seems to be playing all over the place, which is sort of driving our assistant to think we've got the skills and attributes to play this 4-4-2 narrow diamond. But looking at this, right, so Luke O'Neill again appears as a defensive midfielder, and in reality, we don't really want to play him as a defensive midfielder here. We want him to really be in the midfield, and we don't really have better options in the defensive midfield. So we're gonna want to get rid of that on that front. So we looked at Luke O'Neill. So let's take a look at Scott Davies here. Yeah, okay. So good pace, good stamina, fitness, aggression, bravery, good flair, high work rate, teamwork, good penalty taker, decent passer. So not bad across the board for this particular level. So when I set up my midfield pair, I want one playmaker and one ball winner out of this. And when we looked at O'Neill the last time, he's clearly the playmaker, and Davies is clearly the ball winner. So what we're going to do is you are clearly my ball winner, and you are clearly my playmaker. So we'll play around. Don't pay too much attention to the attack and support in that right now. We'll play around with that a bit as we get deeper into this. Okay, now we have to figure out. I got two more midfielders and two strikers. So we have 4 players to figure out what we want to do with here. So let's jump in here. So Davies is obviously off the list. We're a little light here. This guy is good on the. Is clearly seems to be better on the left than the right. Ooh, he's slow as snot. Good crosser, good dribbler, good free taking, long shot, passing. Okay. So this is a good guy on the wing. He's clearly not going to bomb up and down all day, and we're going to have to support him a lot. So let's get into this. So I've got him here. We want him so he doesn't have the paces to play as a winger. So now I can watch. So right, judging by what we saw here, I've got more speed and pace from him, but this guy lacks it. So we're definitely gonna get into a situation where we're overlapping here. Oops, I'm sorry, I wanted to do this as well. We're gonna get into a situation where we're gonna overlap him to provide more space for this guy to cross. We're going to get this guy, so what I want to make sure he has instructions to cross lefts often for it, because I don't want him crossing. I want him to close down more. I want him to dribble less and shoot less on this, right? So based on what we saw from his statistics, or from his attributes, right? We want him to close down because he's defensively much better. I want the overlap because I want to string out the opposition, but I don't want him necessarily shooting and crossing because he's not very good at it. So I want him to get it back to our left midfielder here, who is clearly the better one on that front. Okay, so let's take a look back here at what we got. Right wing. Okay, so we seem to be dreadfully short in the right wing category. This guy would be our next option. Okay, so again, better fitness, not great stamina, not the fastest guy in the world out there. Decent, good mental, good vision, teamwork. Not bad in terms of crossing. So we have the same setup on the other side. I'm not really sure why this guy's getting sort of beaten by the assistant as much on it. I mean, he's not an all-star by any stretch of the imagination here, but I don't think he's as bad as our assistant would have us believe. So we're going to put him out here. Again, we're going to get into a situation where we want him attacking, and then we're going to put him into a support role. And then, again, the same sort of thing that we're going to do right here. So I want him to close down more. I want him to stay wider. I want him to cross less often, shoot less often, and dribble less on that front. On that side of things. Okay, so looking at the base of the team, so we've got our defensive line is going to be dropped back. We want overlap from our speedy wing backs here to help stretch things, but we want our better crossers to be working. We've got a playmaker in the middle of the field, so remember what we wanted to say from him. Ooh, I can't tell him to... we can't tell him to shoot less often, but that's okay because the basic role tells him not to really shoot. Okay, we do want him to roam and to be further forward is what we want from our playmaker. And then I don't think we really need anything special from I want him to shoot less and dribble less, so just get rid of the ball. As soon as he gets it, get it to the playmaker. Okay, so last piece that we want to look at is our strikers. So Lewis, ooh. So important thing to note about him, right? So it says he's a target man by position, but we got to delve deeper into this. So jumping reach is 15, heading is 10, he's 6'3". He's also massively strong. So he is a definite dynamite target man that we want. He's big. He's going to be difficult to move. He's not necessarily the greatest finisher in the universe, but that's okay. So he is definitely a nice big giant target man. And then let's see what McLeish is going to be. Okay, so like this guy also says, hey, I'm a target man. And it's like, no, not really. You're 5'9". You're going to get thrown around. While you do have better reach and heading and decent strength up there, I would prefer a big giant 6'3" guy up there. Geez, he's kind of on the ancient side too. But better finishing. So this guy is much more of, this is the guy we want scoring our goals in there. So let's plug them in. Okay, Jefferson Lewis and McLeish. You'll notice right away I want this for the support and defense. Okay, so now that we've got the core of the team picked out here, you'll notice a couple of things right away that we have to work. So our playmaker and our target man are up each other's noses here. So we're going to need to swap sides and roles here. So this guy is going to be our ball-winning midfielder support, and you are going to become our advanced playmaker attack. Make sure that... Okay, so remember we just have to change our instructions now, so shoot less, dribble less. And then you're going to get further forward and roam from position. Okay, so now we've got, this guy's going to come up and try and fill space in here. We got our target man. They're going to try and link up. We're going to have our deeper line. We're looking for the overlap out here. We do want to play wider based on that. So we're going to want to stretch things around. I do want a higher tempo. I do want them to be moving quickly. I think we've got good stamina across the board here as we looked at originally, and good fitness, so we want to do that. Beyond that, I think we'll leave it. We don't have a lot of good long shooting ability, so we're going to want to try and run in at the defense. Actually, no, that's not true. I want to cross. So we want to leverage our flanks. Right, because we said we've got good crossers on the left and the right. So in order to penetrate down the field, we're gonna clear the ball to the flanks, play wider, and attempt to exploit the flanks. in there. I'm not going to dictate any of the passing and such till we actually see what's going on with the team in there. So we'll leave it standard. We're just going to stay flexible, just in the middle. We have those instructions. We have the player instructions on. So that's fine. Mid-standing finish, whatever. We'll just do these quickly. Personally, very positive about our mid-table position. Yay, yay, yay. So I want to see how this kind of looks when we get out onto the field here, and then we can make adjustments for how we want to play in other we can make some tactical adjustments for how we want to play away from home in a more compact setting, and not so just to get a feel. So we'll take the intra-squad friendly just so we can play this and watch. Damn it. Happy with the direction we're going in. Ambition's fantastic. True legend. Confident. Valued as people. Competition's main focus. I'm not prepared to anything. So in terms of transfer stuff, so when we looked at it, we didn't have too many obvious gross gaps in the squad. The key being, our speed of our central defense. So we're always going to end up in a situation, just filling out the rest of the roster here. We're always going to be in a situation with the two center backs that we have here, in wanting to make sure that they're deeper in line. If they're not deeper, then we're going to get burned all over the place. We have a very strong midfield, so we need to base and play around that. So otherwise, I think, and we do have an age problem in our striking core, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So let's get in here. We'll do a quick... so let me just set this up. So I don't want sounds. We're going to do comprehensive 2D classic between highlights. And we're going to do this, so we'll watch it at a decent pace so we can just see it. Okay, they're going to line up exactly the same. Instructions there. Get the boys all fired up. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. We may do a little pausing to watch what's going on. Okay, so he just clears it way out. I'll bring on, I'll typically bring on set piece instructions and things like that a little later. I want to get into the basis of the game first. See, as you can see now with the deeper on there, our defenders didn't get caught with the through ball in that sense. Okay, so now we're back to our playmaker. We found the advanced forward. There's our target man, or no, our right winger, who shouldn't really be shooting because he's terrible. Center back, I believe there. Yep, or no, wing back scored. But okay, so decent movement there. Again, we're marking and covering. We're not getting caught too far behind. So we're in a good space, so we're not getting caught out of position, which is important, especially since speed in our defense is going to be an issue. Okay, so now we've got up the field. Yeah, nice tackle off for them. We're very clearly dominating possession at the moment, which is nice. Kind of, lousy corner, but none of that stuff's set up, so not a surprise. Okay. Yeah, so you can see as they come in, see, good coverage on the back there. But you can see as they come in, we're kind of forcing them into middle space. There's not a lot of... Ooh, nice. Come on. Ah, bad pass. Good cover. So we're forcing them into the middle a bit to try and play. Okay, we get another one of those out of there. Ooh, fell. Oh, don't get thrown off. Okay. Okay. We may want to look at some point to tweaking how we distribute. just based on, lumping the ball isn't necessarily the greatest strategy in the world for that. But okay, so now we're good killer pass there. They found just a terrible finish on that front. Okay, ball. Okay. Our ball winning, our playmaker's working his way around there. You can see where the team's approach, is creeping up. Is more cautious in how it works its way up, because we're playing with deeper defense, so we're trying not to rush in there. So the team, it's a much more patient build, which is what we want, given the fact that if we get into a transitional situation, we're going to be in some trouble because we don't have tons and tons of pace on this team. So we're going to need to rely on being in the right place at the right time. You can see like that. We're going to need to rely on being in the right place at the right time, as opposed to being able to catch up if we do make mistakes. So nice win back there. And we'll recycle it forward. Fortunately, there's nobody out there. Okay, so now we're in a little bit of trouble on that. So those are the balls that are going to cost us. Now, to some degree or another, there's not a lot we're going to do about that without really reshaping a lot of the team. So we're going to, we may have to figure out if we can accelerate the tactic going forward to a point where we're just going to score more goals, and it's okay that we let those go by, because there's not a ton we're going to do about that. But we can start playing around in the transfer market a little bit here and see if we can't find a faster center back, and maybe put one of them on, put him onto a cover duty, so that we don't get ourselves caught up in that situation very often. So that'll be probably the first thing that we would look to do with this particular club. Now that we're getting some insight. The other piece is you need to be a little careful. We don't want to. We don't want to get into a situation where we're making lots of changes based on one data point. We want to understand what's going on, but based on the attributes, I think that through ball phenomena is going to be something we'll see a lot. Okay, we're down deep. Cross in. Good header, good attempt, just not on target on there. Okay. See, we're getting the ball into the right places. Our strikers aren't necessarily finishing all that well, which is not uncommon for this early in the season. But we can keep an eye on that. If finishing is an issue, we may need to look for better finishers in that sense. But we're getting balls into the right places. So just to take a look at what's going on. So you can see from a positional piece here, we've got two sort of lines. Yeah, our advanced playmaker is sitting deep a little bit. He's not really listening to his instructions to get forward as much. So we may have to look at that in our ball winner. So, but we do have a nice compact line there. We do have good lines, and then our strikers in that sense. So the tactic is doing what we want it to do. So I think I'll end the video here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Look me up on Twitter at FMYank, and I'd be happy to talk more about it. So until next time, until FM16, talk to you guys soon. Bye.